Boston's Irish roots run deep, and despite being a majority-minority city, Boston still has the highest concentration of Irish Americans in the nation. Each year, the St. Patrick's Day Parade in South Boston puts the city's Irish pride on full display, but what on its surface is a celebration is also a major flashpoint. This year, LGBT advocacy group MassEquality is waging a high-profile battle to gain entrance to the parade. But negotiations broke down this week after parade organizers accused the group of lying on its application form. It's just the latest in a long fight by gay groups to march in a parade whose organizers say they're not welcome. Blocking gay organizations from marching in South Boston's St. Patrick's Day Parade goes back for decades.
We're Irish American, and we want to participate in the civic celebration surrounding the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And that's all we've ever wanted to do.
In 1992, a Superior Court judge ruled that the Allied War Veterans Council, the parade sponsor, could no longer exclude gay organizations. At the time, many residents were not pleased.
They don't want to celebrate the Irish, they want to celebrate their gayness.
I don't approve of it. It's a family day. I have nieces and nephews. How do you explain something like that to young kids?
But in 1995, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the Veterans Council, ruling that private organizations have the right to control the message of their events. Then this year, the LGBT group MassEquality tried again. Parade organizers said the group could participate on one condition: marchers could not reference their sexual orientation.
That kind of defeats the purpose of, equality. If you can't be an individual, you can't be proud of who you are, then I don't understand that.
Brendan Bresnahan has been living in South Boston for only 8 months, but says the issue is personal to him because he has a gay brother and it's at odds with the neighborhood's growing diversity.
You can just tell walking up and down West Broadway right now, there's a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life.
But Southie native Dennis Doherty says the debate has only brought trouble to what he says should be just a day of celebrating Irish heritage.
And every time they've came together, they've always been problems. So I think they should just keep them separate. It's an Irish parade. It's not a gay parade. So I think it should say Irish.
But Gertie Chapin, also a lifelong Southie resident, says it's time for organizers and some residents to move on.
I think if asked individually, a lot of people would say, you'd find more people saying, no, I don't care, let them march. But you get one little rabble-rouser, and then everyone jumps on the bandwagon, just like the busing was. So many people didn't even know why they were mad.
Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, who has been trying to broker an agreement, still hopes that a deal can be reached. The parade has become a lightning rod, but as you just saw, for many South Boston natives, it remains a cherished tradition. Maureen Dayhill is co-founder of the blog Caught in Southie, which celebrates the history and character of South Boston. Thanks for joining us, Maureen. So this week, my colleague here at WGBH, Marjorie Egan, wrote a column, and quite fiery, and she wrote, she said, this supposed celebration of Irish pride and culture has instead become a paean to bigotry. It's an embarrassment to Boston. It should embarrass Irish Americans. What do you think? Is it embarrassing at this point?
I think at this point it's slightly embarrassing. It's 2014, and I just feel like our neighborhood is very inclusive and very diverse, and our parade should reflect that as well. And I mean, I understand both sides of it, but I think at this point it would be nice to move forward a new era of the parade.
All right. I'm going to bring Robert Allison into the discussion. He's president of the South Boston Historical Society and author of A Short History of Boston. Welcome back to the show, Bob. So, what's your position on this? Do you think that the traditionalists should really win out because it's culturally significant?
The parade has two purposes. One is to celebrate Evacuation Day, the British evacuation from Boston, and the other is to celebrate Irish pride. And the organizers of any parade have an absolute right to protect the parade's message. Gay and lesbians have marched in the parade, Mormons have marched in the parade, Free Will Baptists have marched in the parade, but marching as part of celebrating veterans, contributions of veterans, Evacuation Day, Irish heritage. The parade doesn't allow advocacy groups of any kind. They've refused pro-lifers who wanted to march. They've refused the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, on Monday, the Chief Marshal got a letter from the Reverend Fred Phelps from the Westboro Baptist Church saying, we have an absolute right to be in the parade. You cannot exclude us. Well, The Supreme Court said they can exclude groups who have a message other than what the parade is about.
Okay, so on that, was the compromise that the mayor was trying to work out reasonable? Because he's saying you can march in the parade like anybody else, but you can't have a message, which means you can't have messaging on your shirts or messaging on your signs, something about, gay rights or gay equality. Was that a fair compromise or not?
In a way, I think it was. I think it was a starting off point. There are people that say, well, why couldn't they just wear green T-shirts with the rainbow? It's kind of a universal symbol instead of having LGBT on their banners and on their T-shirts. But then on the other side, I can see why MassEquality, they've come this far. They're proud of who they are. They're proud of who they represent, and they want that. It's important for them to have that lettering and wording or words on their T-shirts. So I see both sides of it.
How did it ever come to this? Was the original request by gay and lesbian groups to be provocative, do you think, to sort of make a statement back in the, I think it was the 80s, or maybe it was the 70s, I can't remember. Was that the history of it?
And my question is, why not the Caribbean parade? Why not the Columbus Day parade? Why was it our blessing to have this controversy? And it was to be provocative. And I think the mayor did broker a legitimate compromise. The Allied War veterans conceded to allow this group with the MassEquality banner. That wasn't enough for the radicals in the gay rights movement.
Radicals?
Radicals in the gay rights. The South Boston Historical Society has to abide by the code of conduct of the parade. We're told what kind of shirts we can wear, what kind of banners we can have. Every group does. To tell another group, no, you don't have to follow the same rules, is setting them up for a special treatment, which I think sets a very bad precedent.
Well, is it radical? Because even that man on the street that we talked to, Brendan Bresnahan, I think his name is, he said, it's just recognizing who you are. It's not advocating. It's not being radical.
I think it is. It's about pride, and in this sense, not only Irish pride but gay pride. And I think that there's a large population of gay and lesbians that live in South Boston, and they just feel like, well, why can't we just show that in the parade? So, and I understand with the Allied War veterans where they're coming from as well, because, if they do something special for one group, then
but there's also a hint with Mr. Wacko Hurley of being anti-gay. I mean, there's more than a hint, a suggestion, and maybe even a posture that that's his position.
I don't believe it is. I don't believe Wacko is anti-gay. He's not. Wacko is a traditional guy from South Boston who looks at each of us as an individual, judges each of us as an individual. It's irrelevant to him whom you sleep with, where you work, your religion. He wants to see who you are as a person, and that's the traditional ethos. It's I don't want to start a theological discussion, but that is the way we regard. We don't. If you come as part of a group, the Emily Rooney phalanx, then that's much different from, and people can be proud of who they are. And for this particular parade, though, you're celebrating the contributions of Evacuation Day, the contributions of the Irish. Can we put this aside? I mean, I don't know Maureen's sexual or identity. She doesn't know mine. We don't know yours. I mean, it's irrelevant to what we're doing right now.
All right. Bob Allison, Maureen Dayhill, thanks so much. I hope this gets resolved.
I hope it does,
That would be
too.
important to everybody.